mode.
Okay. Sorry, everybody who was watching live. That was annoying. I cannot. It randomly turns off. I cannot figure out why, and I
Are
don't know
we
how to
back
make it.
up?
Yeah, we're live. I don't know how to make it do that. So that was part two, and that was we're now in part two. If you're listening to this on Spotify, there's gonna be a weird break in the middle. I cannot help it. Why is that there? Hold on. Sorry. That I don't. Okay, go away. No,
Because
don't.
you opened because you opened up the games.
No, go away. Where's my stop that. How do I make this go away? There we go. I'm gonna get this one day. It's really frustrating. Okay. To answer Jake's question of Mario Cinematic Universe, Illumination took a roadmap to Nintendo to basically be like, we want to build an MCU Avengers style cinematic universe, all culminating in a Smash Brothers movie. So yes, they're working on a Nintendo
That's
Cinematic Universe.
that's what they want.
That's what they want. Yeah. Um, and yeah, that's the basic. And I mean, they already announced a while back the Donkey Kong with Seth Rogen spinoff that they're doing. Um, so yeah, that's why whenever anyone's like, "Oh, they're gonna do King K. Rool in Mario 2," no, they're not. They're gonna do King K. Rool in a Donkey Kong spinoff. Um, oh, that really disrupts the flow of things, but that's fine. That's fine. We'll move on to the next topic. That's very frustrating. So, people asked James Gunn. Well, there's two costume-related questions that James Gunn asked. The number one: are they doing the underpants for Superman? Which he's still not answering. Which to me means he's doing the underpants for Superman. Which he should do the underpants for Superman. Do the
I
whoever.
mean, it's a classic staple. You got to do it.
Yeah, that would make a statement, being like, we're doing classic Superman adventures with classic Superman.
And don't have him break any necks.
And don't have him break any necks. And then the other question was, will the Green Lantern suit be CGI? To which he basically was like, no, that's stupid. That was the two
Did
questions.
you basically the underlying question is, did you learn from the mistakes of the last people that tried to make this character popular?
That sure seems that way, yeah.
Or are you going to repeat history and blow the budget on the mask?
I mean, here's my one thing. He's making a mistake not starting the unit. He's still doubling down on we're gonna do creature commandos. And here's the thing, right? About creature commandos. I didn't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy, and now I love them. So, and some of the characters kind of sound kind of interesting. It's basically like old literary, so like Frankenstein, Frankenstein's Bride, like those kinds of characters, and they team up
Oh,
with Do you remember Rick Flag from Suicide
I
Squad?
recognize the name.
He was in Suicide Squad. He was in both Suicide Squads.
Okay,
He was the one guy who was in both
right.
Suicide Squads. Yeah. It's his dad, and they're like a squad of people, and they fight bad guys. And that's a television show. I think it's an animated show, and that comes out first, supposedly,
Interesting.
and then Superman. And I think that's a big old mistake. You should start with Superman. Like if you're gonna be like, we're gonna do a
That's a
Marvel,
choice.
you should start with your Iron Man, which is what your Superman's gonna be. He's gonna be your butter,
I mean,
your
either
bread.
either you're Superman or you're Batman, or if you're feeling really brave, you're Wonder Woman. Those are the powered three. Those are the top of the pyramid. Those are the three that you could possibly start with.
Yeah,
To start with one that I've never heard of, the one that you're talking about.
neither have I.
Never.
Neither have I. But again, I hadn't heard of Guardians
So
of the Galaxy,
to,
so all right,
right, but they didn't start the MCU with the Guardians of the Galaxy. They
right.
worked their way up to the
But
Guardians of the
I mean,
Galaxy.
I don't think a lot of people are pretending like he's starting from the ground up. He's not. He's building on the ashes of a former thing, so I don't think he
I
needs
could
to.
I could believe that, Arete. So he says, Arete says, they did an animated short with that. It was surprisingly good. And then he says, they did it to save money because all those characters were in the public domain.
Yeah, that's probably
Crafty,
right.
laugh, laughy, cryy emoji.
That's probably true. Yeah. Yeah. They did
I
a
could believe
they did
that.
a short with the Creature Commandos already, like the one that like James Gunn's Creature Commandos, or just like with those characters generally. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I mean, hey, I like things that are weird, so I'm all in for it. if it's on a thing I can watch. I'm still excited for a Superman movie. Like I want to see a good Superman movie, one good modern Superman movie, and then I will shut up about Superman for at least 5 to 10 minutes.
I'd like to see one that doesn't make me just upset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, it's a pretty low bar. Like that's the thing for me when it comes to DC movies right now. There's a I just want them to be fun and not dark and gritty and Batman.
yeah, yeah. No, fair enough. Yeah, I mean to be
Like
fair,
unless it's Batman.
a lot of
If it's
people.
Batman, then it being dark and gritty and Batman works.
Yeah, a lot of people,
Uh,
a lot of people gave Zack Snyder flack for doing that, but Christopher Nolan had a lot to do with making Superman like that. Him and his brother
you're
produced
not
that.
wrong.
Sorry, you were wrong.
He says yes, it's on Max.
Oh, interesting. Uh, a lot of our stuff from Max goes to Crave. A lot of it goes to Crave. That's interesting. I will have to check that out because yeah, I'm interested in that. I think there's another character in there too that's already been in stuff other than Rick Flag's dad. I can't remember who. Um, oh, Weasel. I think it's Weasel. Weasel is from James Gunn Suicide Squad. I think he's the character that's on both teams. I think. I don't actually
Interesting.
remember. So with that, we need to talk about because we have yet to talk about Jonathan Majors got fired. Remember last week we were talking about people getting fired? He got fired, and it's funny because people
Um,
people are naively being like, he got he got fired within hours of the trial being the trial verdict. He got fired months ago. Like he got fired
oh
when
yeah.
the news first broke. Like they just churned out the stuff he had already filmed like a year ago, and
I
they
mean,
quietly let him go, and then just announced it now.
it was probably a thing where it was like, yeah, it was on the books or whatever, where it was like, yeah, we're public perception is everything. If this
Yeah.
goes south, you're out of here. If we feel like you can skate through this, we might bring you
Oh,
back.
I mean, no. The minute the
Like
this
like I'm saying, they let him go,
no, there's
but they
no.
might have said to him, if this looks like it's gonna work out, we're not gonna announce anything, and if this looks like it's gonna work out, we might bring you back.
No, there is. I don't. I doubt there was any. The moment that because that kind of news that's a career ender because forever the public perception is going to be did he do it or did even if they had proved him innocent in a court of law that would always be plaguing that and Marvel doesn't want that kind of baggage. So no, the minute that news broke, I knew he was done. Like he's not coming
The
back.
thing
There's no version of this where he comes back. I guarantee you they regret not making Kang a CGI character. I guarantee you they regret that.
the, the thing that I find really funny is about it, for lack of a better word, not the situation
Yeah.
itself, but more the Kang side of things, is how everyone is like, oh, so who's going to replace Kang now? And I'm just like, they're they're doing a story about multiverse.
Just
It's naive of
recast.
you to think that they're not going to recast him,
They it's
bring another person in, and just have him be like, this is just an alternate version of
I
Kang who
mean
looks different.
it's a reasonable fear because Marvel has a reputation of being too chicken shit to recast people and not properly recasting when they should have and when the actor wanted them to recast. So it's very believable that yeah, they would course correct and change it so it's Doctor Doom. Now don't do that. Don't do that. Just recast.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I want Doctor Doom to be part of the
Do
MCU,
him
but
after.
you've set up for Kang the Conqueror. Follow through with Kang the
But
Conqueror. Just use a different actor.
the hilarious part is
You're
they
you're you're working with the multiverse. Take it.
yeah.
This is the one time where you can fully get away with it without it being weird.
Who cares if they can get away with it? Stop with
Well,
this
no,
like
no, no.
it
I
being
I I I
weird nonsense.
realize
Just
that.
recast. Like if the
I
actor's not
real
working out, just recast.
I realize that, but my point is that if that's their fear or their excuse,
Yeah.
this is the one time you can do it scot free.
Like when they
Do
when
it.
they when they
Do
recast
it.
now, don't find some sort. Don't be like, oh, when he got sucked into the quantum drive, his face got mangled, and he's just recast, and he don't acknowledge that he looks any different. Like, don't waste the
Let the
time.
audience fill in the blank.
Yeah,
Let the
don't.
audience fill in the blank and just like let each person have their own internal headcanon of, oh, this is the reason why, or
Yeah,
oh, it's just because he's a different variant,
but
or oh, because like they've already set up in Loki the idea that there are variants of yourself that look different.
right. I mean, they fucked it up by having that post-credit scene where they're all the Jonathan Majors and they all look the same. But yeah, prior to that, yeah, it would have been very easy to be like, yeah, not all variants. And they kind of solidified that with obviously the Spider-Man movie, where it's like, yeah, not all of your variants look like you. Um,
Yeah,
and
so it's very easy.
like, I just makes me laugh because Marvel, clearly the thought process between bringing in a human guy to be your main bad guy was like, oh, it'll be much easier to deal with him because we just bring him in for a day, we shoot him, it doesn't require any expensive CGI. That's
Yeah,
why Thanos
cheaper.
didn't show up a bunch, because he was an expensive effect. With a guy, it's much cheaper to just have a guy come in, and then it became infinitely more complicated. I like how much you want to bet there was at least like multiple conversations where they're like, man, we should have just made Kang a CGI character, or they're like, do you think we can model a CGI version of Jonathan Majors to replace him?
Arete says could always pull a Negan.
Negan, I don't.
Neegan.
Unfamiliar. Is that, I recognize the name from, um, if that is that from Walking Dead, because that sounds familiar. I otherwise don't recognize the name. I mean, I was gonna
I
say
don't either.
they could just pull a. I mean, maybe the reason why they're so hesitant to cast is because of that one time they did at the beginning when they recast Terrence Howard, and Ike Perlman very famously said no one would be able to tell the difference. We noticed the difference. That's the polite adjusted version of that quote, the not racist version of that quote. But maybe it's because they did it the one time and it went badly, and they were like, maybe never again,
I
never
mean,
again.
the thing is that for plenty of versions of Kang, he wears that stupid helmet. You
Yeah,
could just have him wear the helmet.
exactly.
Put him in the suit.
Like I
Put him in
said,
the suit. Put a CGI face that looks like legally distinct but not dissimilar to.
Jonathan Majors. Yeah,
And yeah, and the Arete says The Walking Dead in the show, all of his people say they're Negan. The real Negan wasn't revealed until the next season.
oh yeah, that totally works. Yeah, yeah. You could do a similar thing where
So
it's
yeah,
like the Kang is a title, and that's not the. I mean, that's what they were gonna do with the Ant-Man version of Kang anyway, because everyone hated him. They were just gonna be like, that's not actually Kang the Conqueror. Although there was one theory that he was gonna become the Beyonder. Um, but yeah, no, it would be very easy to. It's very easy to. But it's funny because you when with Thanos, it was like, yeah, it'd be very easy if Josh Brolin turned out to suck to recast the voice and replay and just continue on. No one would ever know the difference. Um, but let's see here. Sorry. What do I have? Oh yes. I think I got. Wait, is that it? Yeah. Okay. What last topic, and then we'll move on to book reports because I think that's going to be long. Um, I have a bonus book report that I'm going to say first before we get into yours because I want to talk about it and it'll make sense. Anyway, Rachel McAdams, she talked about why she wasn't in. They had a Mean Girls reunion commercial, and they asked her,
oh yeah,
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 they were like, why weren't you in that? And it's because she's too good to do commercials. Basically,
yeah.
she tried to make it sound nice, but it basically amounted to, I saw it was a commercial. I took one look at it and went, why? And then it wasn't until I saw that all the other girls were doing it, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should have done it. I do movies. Why would I debase myself to do a commercial?
To do a commercial. I mean, I always sorry, Arete says, BTW, did you reach out for the D&D campaign?
Oh, I did. I messaged him on Discord, and he has not gotten back to me yet. But I suspect, with what's at stake, cash money, you have gotten quite a few submissions. So, I have no expectations. But I would absolutely love to be a part of it. I have some machinations I'm working on. If I were to do it, if you were to let me do it, I have a character called Tim. He's a druid, and I created him. He's Tim, the mighty druid, and his whole thing was he was kind of chaos incarnate. I couldn't do. Yeah, he's nodding because he knows. I couldn't be there for every session, and so in order to explain where my character went, he would walk off into the woods, and my in story what he did when he was off into the woods was he would participate in what Tim called forest orgies or forgies, and he only wore a cloak. He just wore a cloak, and if he stood in a certain way, you could see his dick. Like it just if he stood a certain way downwind, you could see his penis. And one of the girls we played with, she didn't care for Tim too much. But he was there was one time after I'd come back, I determined that he needed a new cloak because his was all dirty because of Jordan. Why was it?
40s.
The 4Gs, obviously. And so
yeah.
I needed a new cloak, and the DM let me get one. And because I can't roll for shit, it was a cloak that would have allowed me to turn into a dragon and control it. But because I have the Whedon dice curse, if you know who Will Wheaton is, I roll badly. I rolled very badly, and it turned me into a red dragon, and I nearly killed the whole party. He's a very fun character.
He couldn't control it.
I brought him back when I played Baldur's Gate. I basically recreated him in Baldur's Gate, and I wanted to be chaotic again, but he kind of turned into a more measured, like easygoing, like I called him a charismatic cult leader. So if you let me do it, Tim, I'll bring back Tim, and Tim for that campaign would probably be in the middle, a little bit of chaos, maybe not 4G's level of chaos, but a little bit of chaos, and I think that could bring, it could be entertaining. I know how to be entertaining for an audience, so I think that would be fun.
Orete says, very busy guy. He'll get with you. He knows you're in the network too. Thumbs up.
Excellent. Yeah. It could be fun. I love D&D. I would love to play it, and I can absolutely commit. So, I would love to do that. I'm sort of hoping. Maybe you'll put in a good word for me. But anyway, Rachel McAdams.
Subtle. Very, very subtle.
We were talking about Rachel McAdams. Yeah, that was funny. No, but we're doing book reports. We're gonna do book reports. I don't know. Did you have anything to say about Rachel McAdams, Jordan? Not wanting to come back for me?
I mean, the I'm too good for commercials thing is very funny to me. Not surprising necessarily, but very funny to me. I just thought it was very weird. It was a weird commercial. Like, really, you're doing a reunion of Mean Girls and it's for a commercial? That's a choice.
That's because you can get them to commit for an afternoon. You can get them to commit for several weeks for. Well, it's even funnier when they released. They're releasing that Mean Girls remake, reboot, or whatever. That's a musical. That's based on is an adaptation of the musical, not the movie. And Tina Fey's in it, and I think she plays the same character. And I don't know if any of them are in it or not, but it's a weird, I guess, corporate synergy or whatever.
Interesting.
So, okay, yeah. We're going to move on to book reports in just a second. But as always, this is our section where if we had a sponsor, we would shout out our sponsor. Until we get a sponsor, we're going to shout out the network. This podcast is obviously brought to you by the Arete Podcast Network and aretemedia.org. Go there if you want to check out. They got all sorts of podcasts of wrestling, musical. There's a good musical podcast. There's a podcast for you every need. They got YouTube. They got all kinds of fun stuff on there. That's aretemedia.org. ARETE media.org. Great website. Check it out. They have been once again super kind, super helpful, super supportive. If you want to start a podcast like this, if you want to do what we're doing, they will help you out. All sorts of great resources there to do that. With that, normally we'd start. This is where the Christmas portion of our Christmas special kicks in. Jordan, pretend to jingle some bells.
Jingle bells, jingle bells,
Perfect.
jingle all that.
Now, because it's a Christmas special, I have my own book report. And Jordan obviously has his, and normally I will let Jordan go first, and he is, for the traditional book reports, gonna go first. But okay, the entire week I was going to say mine was Merry Little Batman, and I watched it on Friday with every intent of it being Merry Little Batman, and then I watched another movie, and that became my actual book report because it was more thematically relevant to my one I have seen. So I need to tell you about Merry Little Batman, Jordan, because I've been sitting on this for a couple days now,
It
and
looks so bad.
it's terrible. It's one of the worst Batman things I've ever seen. He's not Batman. To start off with, he's just not Batman. Like I made a video where I said we should all apologize to George Clooney for calling him the worst Batman because Luke Wilson is now the worst Batman because at least George Clooney was Batman. So okay, the whole premise of this is it exists in some weird fucked up alternate reality where Batman knew that Damian Wayne was going to be born, and in preparation for him to be born, stopped all crime. He went around Gotham and either captured all the bad guys or forced them to retire and solved all crime in Gotham. And Damian Wayne really wants to be Batman. Also, this exists in a universe where Robin somehow doesn't exist because Batman in this movie has this real thing about he doesn't want Damian Wayne to be Batman because it's dangerous. Which, if you know anything about Batman, he does not care about child endangerment. And he's just this weird, like, I can't even think to describe him. He's like, kind of like, in characterization, similar to Benjamin B. Parker from the Spider-Verse movies, but like way more of a weenie. Like there's a gag where he has a beard, and Alfred's like, you should shave the beard, and he's like, the beard ups my intimidation factor, and it's funny because he comes in at the end and he runs into Joker, and Joker's like, I like the beard, it ups your intimidation factor, and I thought that was laughable because he's not very intimidating. And it does a disservice. Like, there's a way to do this. Like, you can do levity in Batman. It just felt like a backdoor or a pilot for like a bad, weird, and that's not even mentioning the weird animation that I also hated. And it's like it just seems like a backdoor for a weird, like, Gen Z Batman show that's not very funny or very good. And
Like the Looney Tune style ones, or the Mickey Mouse kind of one.
Kind of, I would say more like regular show, kind of, where it's like just
Uh,
weird for the sake of being weird. I will say there. Okay, it's not devoid of humor. Like, there are some jokes in it that I genuinely laughed. Like, there's a really funny one where the whole thing is Batman gives Damian a utility belt, and it's like a safety utility belt. It's got a bunch of safe shit in it, and two Home Alone style burglars break in and steal it, and they're Joker's goons. And the big thing is that Joker has basically tricked Batman into leaving town in order to bring crime back to Gotham, because he realized that the thing he loved about crime wasn't the crime, but was doing it together with his friends, and so he wants to bring them all back together to do crime with his friends again. And
that's so
there's a
stupid.
funny gag where there's this guy, he's got a cup of coffee, he's just picked it up from like a Starbucks or whatever, and Damien's fighting Poison Ivy, and the coffee gets knocked, it spills it onto his shirt, and he just looks down on his shirt, and he just goes, and it's just like what it must feel like to just be a regular person in a superhero universe of like typical Tuesday. Like, that was funny. And then they introduced Mr. Freeze later in the thing, and he's just an old retired version of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, and he's just trying to say really really bad like cold puns, but none of them are very good. And it's funny. That's funny. And it's like I say, it's not devoid of humor. It's just I'll put it to, it's not a story that worked with Batman. Like, this feels like it was a Superman story, and they rewrote it into a Batman story to like, because Batman was a more popular character. Because yeah, Superman has a son who he doesn't want to be a superhero, and maybe it's like, oh, he doesn't have superpowers yet, and he wants to be Superman, but he can't be. Like, the story works so much better with Superman. And it's just not Batman. That's the thing, is like, you could do a version of this where he was Batman. Like, but he's not Batman. He's not acting like Batman. He's just kind of a guy in a weenie of a dad in a Batman suit.
Yeah, when I first saw the trailer for it, I immediately was like, ew, ew. Just Ew.
And
This looks gross.
I keep saying, who is this for? But like, people seem to love it. Every time I go to look up that, I type in "this movie sucks" into Google, it's like, no, everyone loves it. It's got super good reviews. Everyone thinks it's cute and funny, and I'm like, but it does a disservice to these characters. It's a bad adaptation, and other bad
I don't
adaptations
get
have
it.
gotten dragged through the dirt. Why is this one not? Like, it's terrible. It's not very good. It's bad. But
Yeah, I don't get it, man.
um,
It just looks like garbage.
that's I guess that's I don't really have much else other than it wasn't very good. So that was my bonus book report of the week. I did extra work. With that having been said, Jordan, how do you want to do this? You want to do old one, or one you've seen first, or one you haven't seen first? I'll let you pick.
I'm gonna do one I've seen first, and then we're gonna jump into the one that I haven't seen. But before I do that, I have a very quick, not quite to the length that you did, but quick opinion of another Christmas movie that I saw, which was the one that you recommended, where David Harbour is Santa Claus and he's doing a Die Hard.
Santa Claus doesn't die
Uh,
hard.
yeah, I watched that one last night, and I almost made that one my book report because I thoroughly
It's
enjoyed it. I thought it
so
was
good.
surprisingly cute for like the type of movie
Yeah,
that
it's
it is.
surprisingly wholesome. It really is. I kind of wish I'd watched it now, so
Uh,
I could yeah I can remember more. But it is surprisingly wholesome.
um, but no, yeah, I wanted to very briefly touch on that and say anyone who hasn't seen on that has the incomparable Jordan seal of approval. Uh,
It's good. It's one of those ones where you're
it
not
it's
expecting it to be as good as it is, and that makes it
No,
better.
I thought it was gonna be more to the level of the one that I'm gonna talk about. But it was much better than the one that I'm gonna talk about. But yeah, no, definitely see incomparable Jordan seal of approval.
For sure, yeah.
So now
It's
that being said,
real potential. I said that when I watched it last year, has the potential to like become a real iconic Christmas classic. It's
oh,
real
there's
good.
a lot that I could say about it that I really enjoy, but uh
Moving on though.
we got to move on because I have other movies that I have to get into and there's more to say. So we'll start with the one that I've seen before, which, as opposed to my last week's movie, is a Christmas movie. Um, yeah, that's right. I'm gonna keep pressing that button just to piss you
People
guys
thought you were
off.
fucking crazy. It was so funny. You like
I
you caused some controversy, man.
I kicked the hornet's nest
Yeah,
on
that's
that
so
one,
many comments telling me
but
how wrong you were.
but this one is absolutely a Christmas movie. I'm going to talk about all three of the Santa Clauses, plus I'm going to touch on the show. Uh, so we're going to rapid fire through a lot of this. You've all seen it. You know the movies. So on the one hand, with the first one in particular, there's sort of two stories that are being told, really, when you think about it. There's the cute story about, the dad who becomes Santa Claus and he was a terrible dad, but now he's a good dad because his son loves him again and it's really sweet and cute. And then there's the underlying horror story of a person, a man who is tricked into knocking a person off his roof and then forced into taking on a responsibility that he did not want and never agreed to do. And then is slowly possessed over the course of a year by Santa magic until his very personality is no more and he is absorbed by the personality of Santa Claus. And you know that it was all part of the plan because in earlier parts of the movie, if you pay attention, you can see the elves are stalking him and his family, slowly preparing to set him up for the fall of becoming Santa Claus.
Yeah. I saw someone say once that yeah, the Santa Claus magic is a curse. It's not a gift. It's a curse that slowly
It
warps
is
the
absolutely a
very
curse.
fabric of your personality, and it also infects those around you too. Because I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it, but the wife, Mrs. Claus, she gets possessed by the Christmas magic as well.
I am gonna get into that. So yeah, so first one really cute. We have this
But
nice,
slightly nefarious, if we're being
but
honest.
slightly nefarious if you're an
Slightly
adult and you're
nefarious.
watching it as an adult. Uh, And then we move into the second one where he's been Santa Claus for I think it's been it's been like 5 years at this point. I don't remember exactly. But it's been a couple years. And So he now has another clause that he has to fulfill, which is he has to go and seduce, fall in love with a woman in 30 days, because if he doesn't, he will lose the Santa magic and there will be no more Christmas. Um,
He has the unfortunate task of making a woman fall in love with Tim Allen. I know it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough thing to do. That's it's
and so he creates the plastic toy version of himself, which I feel like Tim Allen specifically requested that to be a thing in this movie, just so he could scream at
he
children.
did. Yeah, he did.
Um,
That's actually true. He did. He he was really bad about he would just he hated making, which was always surprising why he came back for the show, because he hated making those movies. He used to like scream at the kids. Apparently, admittedly, he admitted he would just scream at the kids as Santa Claus.
and so as the plastic one, he gets to be just an abusive piece of crap. Meanwhile, Scott Calvin goes out into the world and has to trick, seduce, fall in love with the woman who will become his Santa Claus, who also happens to be his son's principal,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I guess he just decided to go for not the first chick, because the first chick he went out on a date with was crazy, but the second chick that he could find.
He didn't want to fish too far out
Didn't
of his
didn't
pond.
didn't didn't do like a whole montage of like, searching for people, like going through multiple people. No, the character only had 30 days to get this done. He finds the first available chick, and then sorry, second available chick, and then uses his Santa magic to manipulate her into falling in love with him. um then they go back to the North Pole and rescue the elves